That's right. We are back. A podcast about movies has returned. Because, well, I just felt like it
Why
was fun to
not?
bring it back.
Why not? It's one of those things where we're not going to be doing it like all the time. Just whenever we feel like doing one, we'll
Yeah.
just do
And,
one. Yeah, we want something to talk about.
what better time to bring it back than to talk about the year that was 2022? But before we do that, I, of course, am Jacob Barber. That is Austin. Austin, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm doing fantastic. We're just doing this little show before some football tonight. Jaguars a lot riding on the line. So, but hey, not my favorite thing in the world. My favorite thing is movies. So we're going to talk movies first because
Yes.
and I would you agree? I think 2022 was a pretty solid year for movies overall.
I think so. They're like we'll do our top 10 tomorrow in podcast league now with Jordan and Richie. But yeah, like my top 10, like I don't hand out 5 stars a lot throughout the year, but several of them, almost all of my top 10 were like, oh my, I love that movie. And 5 stars for me isn't like I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah,
it's perfect for me.
Sure.
So that's how I kind of go about it when handing out like 5 stars. I'm like, that is everything I wanted in that movie. It is like perfect for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I like. There are movies out there that are like nearly perfect that I would give 5 out of 5s that aren't necessarily my favorites to watch, but that's so.
Well, and for me, the way I there's a way I gauge the year. I look at the horror movies, and we'll talk about that later. Obviously, it's be one of our topics tonight. But even if like the just kind of run of the mill horror movies were like pretty good, and I didn't have a lot of ones that I like outright disliked other than maybe one or two. I think it's a pretty good year usually for movies. You can kind of almost judge it on your horror movies as well. As far as what a lot of the mainstream horror movies were actually really, really solid, some excellent. It was a good year for horror. Yeah, I think it was a good year for some blockbusters. It was a good just kind of a good year in general. Yeah, I saw a lot of stuff that surprised me, kind of came out of nowhere. We each have movies that were exclusive to streaming services that made our top lists, which I think was pretty cool. That, but we would have liked to have seen in theaters, at least some of mine for sure. I would have liked to have seen in a theater. But yeah, I think that's a good sign too. They're putting out some good quality stuff on streaming as well. So there's a lot of good stuff out there this year. Definitely.
Yeah, and shout out to Inside the Horseshoe podcast.
Hello.
Sorry about the Colts season. I thought they were going to be much better, and it's just unfortunate. Next year. Just unfortunate injuries. Speaking of football, shout out to DeMar Hamlin. I hear he is doing much better.
Responsive today. At least a little bit, and
so
we wish him a speedy recovery. Absolutely, yeah, totally, yeah.
But yeah, let's just jump into it. We got
a lot to talk about. So let's jump
let's jump into it. Let's just start off with some of our favorite physical media pickups of the year. I don't buy a lot of special editions or steelbooks just because in my area, like I have a Walmart and that's it. And then I don't order a lot because it's not exactly like the best area. I've had a few packages where it's like it says it's delivered. Where is it?
Yeah, porch pirates in your area. Yeah.
But I do have a stack of 5. So
I know you got a stack of 5. I got a stack of like 25. So but I'll go through them. I won't dwell too much on them. I'll just kind of showcase them, say a sentence or two, and I'll move on. I promise I won't spend too long on them. Yeah.
I'm gonna kick it off with this the Terrifier 2 steelbook. I kind of dig it.
Where? I had mine somewhere. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. It's funny. I have the same thing. There we go. Hey.
Which I find weird that my Walmart had because they didn't have a Blu-ray copy of Tar. They didn't have a Blu-ray copy of some of these bigger movies of the year, but they get a Blu-ray steelbook
Yeah, it's like a
Terrifier
Walmart
2.
exclusive for Terrifier 2. It's like the weirdest thing. The same store, Jacob, where I was not allowed to buy, I had to buy edited rap CDs because they wouldn't sell, like
Yeah.
parental advisory rap CDs back in the day. But you could buy maybe the goriest horror movie in quite some time in a
Because
Walmart exclusive.
it is unrated. I
Yes.
did self checkout, and nobody had to come and make sure I
Oh,
was
so
old enough to
technically
buy
there's
this.
no rating. So yeah, I guess
Yeah,
anybody can buy it.
nobody. Yeah, anybody could buy this movie, but
Yeah.
yeah. And the next one I have is this Avatar kind of special edition because I've never actually seen this movie, and this was actually the same as just the same price as just the basic Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And so I picked this up. It's got 3 discs in it, kind of some behind the scenes stuff. But my favorite part of this, you know how sometimes you have to like pull the discs and
Yeah. That's annoying.
you can pull
Oh,
this
nice. You pull the whole
out
sleeve out. I like it.
and then take the movie out.
Excellent.
It is so nice.
Mm.
So that's probably my favorite. Because I was looking at the packaging and I was like, oh, that's gonna be tough. But then I pulled out. I was like, oh, take note, everyone who makes a special edition from now on.
Yeah. Well, one of my problems with the anybody remembers the Blu-ray Back to the Future trilogy had these weird things where you had to like squeeze like the tabs to like pull the discs out. It was insanely difficult and one of the dumbest things ever, to where I eventually just bought a Steelbook Back to the Future trilogy Blu-ray that was much, much easier and more easily laid out of like the 3 discs. It was just very strange. But yeah, I hate inconvenient packaging for sure. Yeah.
And then some more Walmart. I think, I mean, they say only at Walmart. So
Yeah.
and a couple of them are. Well, at least this one is one that I haven't seen before. So I got this
Pretty in Pink. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in the packaging. I haven't opened it yet.
Well, Walmart had all those Deadpool slipcover Blu-rays at one point, where like Deadpool inserted himself into all the covers of the movies.
I remember. Yeah,
and like I remember seeing a display of that. Of just like, every movie had like Deadpool on the cover instead of the regular person. I thought that was kind of interesting. Not that I would buy the movie again just for that, but
right.
Yeah, they do some cool stuff sometimes.
And then I have this Ferris Bueller's Day Off Steelbook. It's just him in the car, and then the back. Yeah.
Okay.
Another one that I haven't opened yet, but I will eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't usually double dip on movies. I have a standard Blu-ray copy of this movie, but I saw this Steelbook at Walmart, and I said I want that.
Okay.
And it's a good enough movie to double dip on. I showed it off in a previous stream, but I'll show it off here too. The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, it's funny you should point that out because I also got that in the mail the other day. Yeah, there you go. Nice, but it's a good, it's a good solid Steelbook. Yeah,
I mean,
very nice.
Mm-hmm. And then the inside, like you got that.
Oh yeah,
that scene. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So a couple of crossovers, despite the fact that you just had a few. I have a pretty safe condo where I live, so I don't have to worry about porch pirates most of the time. So, and yeah, I order a lot online, as you know. I've got my wall next to me of just, it's damn near filled up at this point. So I'll have to see. I'll just have to get rid of some DVDs that I just don't want anymore, don't watch, just to make room for more Blu-rays.
Oh, I'm the same way. I've got this shelf, and this shelf. But what you don't see behind my computer on the table is about 6 stacks of movies that won't fit on my shelf right now.
Yeah, no, my thing's getting pretty full. I'll have to pull another box set or two, kind of strategically place them around the room or something, figure it out. But it was a good year for 4K. If you have 4K capability, which I do, I have an Xbox One X, really good, 75-inch Hisense, 4K TV. It looks great. I was actually playing around with the settings somewhat today and calibrating it on an older movie. What's up, Jordan? Fortunately, Jordan, this one will be a little more visual, but I'll try to explain a little bit more so we get into the later portion, because we're talking about, some of our 4K pickups and things like that. But yeah, I'll try to run through this as quickly as possible. Just some good stuff I picked up this year. Like I said, it was a really good year for 4K. Some really good movies came out. Got this year, the Lawrence of Arabia 4K Steelbook. Very beautiful. I like when they do kind of cool artwork, especially on these Steelbooks. But very nice. Again, comes with the 4Ks and the Blu-rays, which, is fun when I upgrade to 4K. I can get rid of the Blu-ray because a lot of them come with Blu-ray, so it's
Right.
pretty convenient actually. So I can still make room, and literally just do a full swap. This is the Menace to Society Criterion Collection that came out this year. A great movie and a really cool kind of it slides out and
Oh,
it
nice.
leaves the two right there. So I like when they do creative packaging like that. I've got a really good one for Reservoir Dogs that I showed off the other night. I'll show it off again here. As far as like maybe the best old movie that I got on 4K. This is from Arrow Video. This is the original Django with Franco Nero, one of my favorite
Oh, okay.
westerns. And this is like reference quality material right here. They did a phenomenal job. I used to even have a Blu-ray that wasn't that great of a Blu-ray, and they upgraded this thing to 4K, and it looks sublime. So yeah, but it's a really cool old western. Love me some Django. This is the Reservoir Dogs I was talking about. The Best Buy, I believe, is the exclusive where the ear slides off to reveal the title and slides back on. So that's pretty cool. And just to note, the actual transfer of the movie is one of the best transfers of the year. 100%. This movie looks incredible. Steep upgrade from the original Blu-ray that came out probably in the mid 2000s. So well worth the upgrade as far as for Reservoir Dogs. The Scream Factory finally put out a 4K of Return of the Living Dead, which I'm a big fan of this movie, and the 4K looks excellent, mainly because the actual Blu-ray was very hard to find. It was out of print.
Okay.
So I'm glad they finally did a 4K, and I was able to get a hold of that. You'll be interested in these two, Jacob. The Leica, or is that the animated company that does
Yeah.
So they're starting to put out 4Ks of all their movies. They have basically a set, and they all kind of go together with their artwork. So this is the Coraline and Paranorman
Nice.
these steel books right here. And really cool artwork just on the
Those,
front and
those are
back.
cool.
Very colorful, very nice. I popped these in for a few minutes each, and again, the transfer of Coraline especially looks amazing. But I do know the Box Trolls and Kubo and the Two Strings are coming out, I believe, in either February or March.
Nice.
So they're on the way.
Yeah,
as well.
if I ever upgrade to 4K, I will
Yeah.
probably be purchasing those.
Right, yeah, and they look great. So if you ever do that, yeah, definitely, I recommend them. But yeah, these were pretty cool. I even just like the artwork alone, so I picked them up. But I like the stop motion stuff. You know what I mean? A little more than some of these other things. That's a good studio. This is a fairly recent one from Vinegar Syndrome. It was a very hard movie to find, even just on physical for a long time. They finally put out Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on 4K, which was, again, I had an old DVD. The Scream Factory Blu-ray has been out of print for 5 or 6 years now. So they finally put out a new transfer, and it actually has a commentary track from a podcaster I listened to, Patrick Bromley from F This Movie. I'll shout him out. He's awesome. He actually, and I tweeted a picture of me holding it, shouting him out, and he retweeted it. So that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a big Toby Hooper fan. They reached out to him. I've got and this is interesting just for the implications of what it could mean in the future. I showed this to you the other night, Jacob. This is the Wally 4K Criterion Collection disc, which is interesting because people online, it kind of came out of nowhere. And as far as what it means for other Pixar movies, maybe getting Criterion releases, it could be very cool. Or even them working with Disney to maybe put out some other classic titles. I'd be interested to see where that goes in 2023. As far as if we hear anything, with them kind of collaborating. This was a recent pickup. My parents got me a Target gift card, and it was pretty pricey, but because of the gift card, I was able to finally buy this. I got the True Romance deluxe set of the 4K. It includes a separate steelbook that folds out. Get
nice.
them and them nice and pink on there, and it also comes with like a full crazy booklet, like a whole thing behind the scenes booklet. It's got a poster inside the steel book. It's got postcards from their honeymoon. I mean, all kinds of good stuff. So, and I popped it in for a few minutes. The transfer is excellent, much better than the Blu-ray that's been out for a long time. So, which wasn't a very good quality to begin with. So glad that one finally got an upgrade. A little pricey, but again, I got a gift card and used that to pick that up. This is the Last Action Hero 4K Steelbook that I picked up. And again, I had a good one for a movie I really, really like. And the Blu-ray was quite old, so this is a nice little upgrade. This is recent, although I kept my DVD because it was a pretty bare bones release. It's literally like kind of just the movie upgraded. This is the Running Man on 4K that they just put out in a steelbook. So the movie itself looks great. The steelbook is cool, but the disc does not have any of the special features that my special edition DVD did with the commentaries and stuff. So I don't know why they didn't port those over. Shame on you, whoever put this out, because that should be a simple thing to do. At least the commentaries port them over. Arrow's release of RoboCop in 4K was excellent this year. They put that one out, so I added that to my collection and upgraded it. This one also comes with that and like this big behind the scenes book. I mean, just all kinds of good stuff. I like when they kind of Arrow's been really killing it as far as their physical releases. Tremors last year was an excellent release, just loaded with stuff. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. And as you know, it's one of my favorite movies ever. So the Godfather 4K collection, which is excellent, of course, a really great pickup. The movies look tremendous. And I know they have a steelbook collection out now, but it wasn't out when I originally got this, but still a wonderful set of some wonderful movies. This is the Grove exclusive. I just got this the other day, 4K of 8 Mile steelbook.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And Jacob, I believe on Grove, this is like $15 right now.
Ooh.
So it's a Grove, it's gruv.com, grove.com. Okay. They sell kind of clearance stuff. But this was exclusive of theirs, but I also got it on Amazon. But this is a fairly recent release of 8 Miles. So and I was able to upgrade my old DVD. So the movie looks good. Good transfer. Yeah, 8 Miles is a good one. My Old Boy 4K. This is an international release, but 4K is region free. But just a very cool, again, nice packaging, a nice exclusive. I think it's a Zavi exclusive. We get to, this is another very, very recent one, another Tarantino, the new Steelbook 4K of Pulp Fiction. And the movie looks excellent. But yeah, again, another great upgrade over the Blu-ray, really good solid transfer there. One of the best transfers that I looked at this week that I hadn't popped in yet, and I was surprised at how great it looked, almost better than any other movie in here, Army of Darkness 4K. This is the 4K Steelbook of Army of Darkness. This movie, the remaster, is so good. This is the cleanest I've ever seen this movie look. An excellent release, and just cool artwork. I mean, just great. I love when they put effort into this stuff, So,
yeah.
Really good. Another great transfer that got kind of overlooked this year. This is the 4K Steelbook of Starship Troopers, kind of like almost like a comic book sort of cover. And that's a really good one as well. Two last ones. This is the Criterion 4K recent release of Mulholland Drive from David Lynch. One that I've been itching to revisit, so I want to give it the best possible. And of course, one of our favorite movies of the year, and an absolute must-have 4K disc. Of course, Top Gun Maverick.
Of course,
Steelbook. And I think this sold out on Amazon too right now, or at least it is at the moment. I think they're going to re-up, but I pre-ordered this before it came out, so I was able to snag one. But yeah, well worth it. The sound design on it is excellent. So yeah, so just breezing through those, just really quick recommendations. But some really good stuff that came out this year that I was really happy with.
Oh, I lied. I had one more.
Okay.
I was like, I forgot to pull this one out. I picked up Galaxy Quest.
Nice.
Steelbook. Yeah. Kind of bare in the inside, but the outside artwork is cool. Yeah. I don't mind if the inside is kind of bare like that. If the outside,
as long as the outside art is cool, or there's a cool outside, yeah, I'm fine with that. So I have no problems with that. But yeah, I can dig. I'm not like a steelbook guru, but if the artwork is cool and it looks really nice and it's essentially the same movie, and I have a choice between the two, and one is $2 or $3 more, I'll splurge and just get a steelbook. So
right.
Yeah, they're fun.
I like the way they line up on the shelf too.
Yeah, they look really nice. The spines always look good. So yeah, but nice, some good ones. So that kind of somewhat transitions into our next topic, because we're talking about stuff we picked up, which could have either been current movies or older movies, on physical media. But we could talk about some older movies that we saw for the first time this year that we really connected with or liked. Maybe not necessarily like stuff we picked up. Although to remind myself, I kind of went through my collection of stuff that I did actually pick up, later on after I saw it and bought it on Blu-ray. That kind of helps remind me of stuff. But yeah, we'll talk about some of our favorite first time watches, Jacob.
Yeah, and I think we should just kick off with one that I think both of us
Both of us. Yeah, I know what you're
really
thinking.
love. We talked about it on some
Mhm.
previous
Yeah.
episodes, and that's What's Up, Doc,
Yes.
from 1972. Barbara Streisand and I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name from the movie.
Oh, yeah. What's his
But
name?
yeah,
Tatum O'Neal, right?
yeah, those,
Or
yeah.
or Ryan or Ryan
Ryan
O'Neal.
O'Neal,
Tatum is
Ryan,
the daughter,
yeah,
is his daughter that stars with him later. But yeah, Ryan O'Neal is great. Yeah.
yeah. But this was just a fun, 90-minute comedy from 1972 with probably one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen in movies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was just a lot of fun. I know you really enjoyed it. I chose it for our anniversary show. We did
Mhm.
going back 50 years every 5 years,
Sure.
and that was my choice for 72.
Mhm.
And so you ended up watching it and absolutely loving it too. I loved it so much that it made my top 128. So when we did tournament fights for my
Right.
128, it did sneak in there.
Yeah.
And so I was introduced to it by a friend I go to church with, and play board games with, um, and now I'm like doing the same thing. Like, yeah, I want to introduce as many people as I
Oh,
can to this
sure.
movie because it was fantastic.
Yeah. No, it was good stuff. Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of it's a throwback to like the old screwball comedies of like the 40s, essentially, where it's just, there's all kinds of people running around and just in wacky situations and people passing themselves off as other people, and just all kinds of people just kind of getting into hijinks. Especially even the classic stuff, Jacob, of like the hotel room where they're switching the briefcases in and out. Everybody's grabbing this bag, this bag. There's two bags that look the same, so they're getting thrown around all over the place. It's just classic kind of misdirection and stuff. And yeah, I mean, the chemistry I thought between Barbara Streisand and Ryan O'Neal was just excellent.
Yeah.
There's some cool little character actors that pop up in and out throughout the movie. And yeah, I was surprised at how much I liked it too. I didn't know even much about the actual premise. But yeah, I really, really vibed with it and had a good time with it. That was definitely one. Yeah, I figured we would both bring up because we were both. That was like the best surprise of that show when we did it was how much we both really liked that movie.
Yeah. So, well, why don't you?
Sure. Well, I mean, I actually have like two other movies that we watched for our shows that I've gone back and watched again since I watched them for those. Another one was one of our anniversary things, Single White Female, with oh my god, now I'm having brain farts tonight. Sorry, I've been up since I slept like 2 hours last night, so if I have a bunch of brain melts, I apologize. But from the Hateful Eight, what's her name? Uh,
Oh,
Jennifer
Jennifer.
Jason Lee. Jennifer Jason
Yeah.
Lee, excuse me. And Bridget Fonda. And yeah, it's kind of the prototypical, like one of the OG crazy roommate, that goes off her rocker and, ruins everything and, has a psychotic side, but it was really, really good. And yeah, Jennifer Jason Lee, if you haven't seen some of her earlier stuff and realize how great of an actress she's been, even at the beginning of her career, it's very, very good. So I really like that movie. And just one other from our show before we bounce over to the other ones. One from our musical show, actually, and that was All That Jazz with Roy Scheider. I really, really enjoyed, and because it wasn't your prototypical sort of musical. It was kind of almost like an anti-musical with Roy Scheider and kind of the dirty side of like ballet and Broadway, in New York. And it's like 70s New York, which I love 70s New York. I'm kind of fascinated with movies that are set in 70s New York. And Roy Scheider is just, back in the 70s, he was just the man. Like every movie he made was great in the 70s. And, it's a Bob Fosse movie who like usually made stuff like Cabaret, just these outlandish kind of, over the top musicals, but this one's kind of really raw and kind of dirty and deals with Roy Scheider's not a very savory character. He's like likable, but he's also, he sleeps with the dancers, and he, and, has, gives them favors for, sleeping with him. It's the dirtier side of that, that business. And I really, really liked it and recommended it. I've gone back to watch it once since then. So yeah, All That Jazz was one of the surprising ones that came out of that musicals episode we did that I liked.
Yeah, and I'll shout out one more from one of the episodes we did. We did our director blind spots, and I picked So actually, I'm going to shout out three here because I picked
Sure.
Spielberg for the Indiana Jones, the two
Mhm.
following Raiders, Temple of Doom, and oh my, why am I blanking on
Last Crusade.
Okay, wow,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
It's all
blanking
good.
too, and I'm not even tired. Um, no, really
Chugging
good follow up.
caffeine like a
Right.
fiend just to get my brain unclouded, but I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just really good follow ups, and yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink it because I all three of those movies are
Are
really
excellent.
good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the fourth one yet, but I probably will before the fifth one comes out because I'm kind of interested. And then let's
Oh yeah, there you
just
go.
shout out The Fly. I've
It's over
still
there.
only seen. I was about to say the first one, but it's the remake of the
The
first one,
remake, yeah, the Jeff
which,
Goldblum movie, yes.
which I watched for the show and then immediately watched again because, well, not immediately, but like within a couple days, I rewatched it because it was just an excellent movie. Jeff Goldblum blew me away, and I don't do it a lot, but if you look at my favorite movies of all time on my
Yeah.
list, it's in the top 20.
Yeah.
It was that good. And I'm not a big horror guy, so um, but yeah, that's one that I could probably go back to quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I told you I think on the show I did the same thing the first time I ever saw it. I watched it, loved it. The next day I watched it with the commentary, it was like really digging into everything I could find like on the actual special edition of it. And then like 2 days later I watched it again. And I was just like, yeah, I was just like obsessed with the movie for like a whole week. And yeah, I've seen it probably 50 or 60 times. Like, yeah, that movie is a masterpiece. It's great. And yeah, it's just, there's just something about it that just hooks you in.
Yeah,
Just the actual, you get really invested in the characters and the story, and it's just such a simple movie. And again, it's not over long. It's just it flies by, and yeah, before you know it, and you almost cry at the end. I mean, it gets you really emotionally invested as well. So, yeah, it's a great movie. I have a soft spot, guilty pleasure spot for The Fly 2 with Eric Stoltz, but if you ever get around to that. Not as good as the Jeff Goldblum movie, obviously, but I have a soft spot for it. I kind of like it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, as far as me, there was a movie that Henry actually introduced me to. It was in his like top 100, and he had pushed me to see it. Witness for the Prosecution really blew me away. I thought it was great, and oddly enough, it came out the same year as 12 Angry Men. So it was a very
Hmm.
two really good sort of courtroom movies in the same year, which was kind of crazy. But Charles Lawton is really good in this movie, and I was surprised at how just really well written and damn entertaining it is. It has a really good twist at the end that you don't really see coming, that kind of throws the whole movie into disarray, that I didn't pick up on it. But yeah, it's really good. It's like him trying to help this lady out, kind of solve this crime and defend her. But really, again, much like how 12 Angry Men holds up now when you watch it, just the writing is so good that you don't even, it doesn't even feel like an old movie. Same with Witness for the Prosecution. So
Hmm.
I really like that movie, and picked it up on Blu-ray pretty much right after. I watched it on Tubi, and then because of course, and then and then picked it up on Blu-ray right afterwards. Yeah, I really liked it.
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'll check out. I mean, if it's on Tubi.
I think well, if it still is, I think it was when I watched it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I would imagine so. I mean, everything's on there. So, but yeah, I'll check it real quick as you kind of do yours. But yeah, what else you got?
Yeah. So
It still is, by the way, still on
Okay.
TV. There you go.
Yeah, so I did quite a few episodes of Rankum, and I believe no, I'm pretty sure this was for we did this one in 2022, but it was the Clint Eastwood directed. If it wasn't, it just feels like we did, but
Yeah, I was on that episode.
yeah, I can't remember if it was late 2021 or early 2022, but I'm going with 2022 because that's when I remember. Because why not? But no, it was Unforgiven that I watched for the
Yeah,
first time.
I rewatched it recently because I had a battleground match where I had to argue it. So I've seen it very recently. Yeah, Unforgiven's great.
So yeah, no, just great performances from Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman. Morgan Freeman, like I really dug it. Like I don't know why I waited so long to watch it because yeah, I'm not a huge Western guy, but this one is up there. As not just one of the best westerns, but one of Clint Eastwood's best movies that he's starred in or directed. Like it could go both ways. So yeah, no, that
And
was
Richard Harris, the original Dumbledore, is English Bob, and that movie is great too.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, he's a lot of fun. And yeah, Gene Hackman is. When is Gene Hackman not good? He's good at everything.
Right.
He always steals the movie. He's always awesome. But yeah, he's great in that movie. It's kind of that tyrant, running that town, and yeah, he's awesome. So yeah, it's a really good western. Yeah, it definitely holds up.
And I checked because Letterboxd you can log movies when you watch them, and I watched it February 1st of this year, so it was
that counts.
Year, so it was 2022.
I feel like I was on that show last year or this past year, so yeah, it was it wasn't that long ago. I'll shout out Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. I filled in a lot of my Stanley Kubrick blind spots with some of his older movies, with stuff like Lolita and The Killing and Paths of Glory, which I loved, but I think I watched that 2 years ago. But yeah, The Killing is actually it's surprisingly it's a Stanley Kubrick movie that's like 95 minutes. It's very short, unlike same with Paths of Glory and very some of the shorter movies. But it's like a heist movie, but it's told sort of Pulp Fiction style, sort of out of order, following different people at different times.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually, I would imagine if I got a chance to ask Quentin Tarantino, he's a fan of The Killing, because it's like bouncing all over the place and yeah, kind of jumping times, like way, 40 years before Pulp Fiction kind of, made that popular again. So I really recommend that one. I think that one's on Tubi also or something, or some or HBO Max or something like that. But yeah, The Killing is really, really good. And it flies by. Great character actors kind of throughout, people you'll recognize. There's a guy from Paths of Glory that you'd recognize if you saw that movie. The guy who gets, who's like clutching onto the priest when he's about to be executed like the whole time. That guy, like he's got a recognizable face, but yeah, really good stuff. So I recommend The Killing from Stanley Kubrick. Really, really, really good.
Funny that you mentioned that, because one of my goals for the year is to watch 5 directors and their filmographies in whole. And I picked some that I've started, so it's finishing some, but and Kubrick's actually one of them. So I do plan on getting to that.
So what have you seen of Kubrick? Well, I'll say, what have you seen of Kubrick? Like
let me.
So far,
I have seen it's not much, but I've it's only 3. I've seen 2001, The Shining, and A Clockwork Orange.
Okay. So Full Metal Jacket is great, especially the first half, but I will defend the second half. I like people were kind of split on it, but I think it's a great war movie, even in the second half. Full Metal Jacket is excellent. Lolita is very strange, but not bad. James Mason. And kind of this relationship he develops with a younger girl. It's a little taboo on the subject matter, you know what I mean? But like they don't do anything explicit in the movie. It's just kind of this relationship they have. Like I said, The Killing is really good. It holds up pretty well. Paths of Glory is excellent. I've raved about Paths of Glory, you know that. I think it's a fantastic World War I movie. And just because it also becomes sort of a courtroom movie later, but really, really good. What else? Barry Lyndon, I'm not really a fan of. It's a period piece drama, and what are you gonna do? it's long. It's not great. And then Dr. Strangelove. So Dr. Strangelove is interesting because I've rewatched it probably 4 or 5 times. I was always on the side of not really digging it. This last rewatch, I'm finally into positive territory on it, but I think it'll take you multiple watches to kind of get into it, honestly, because it's a very dry comedy. Although Peter Sellers plays 3 different roles in the movie, and he's awesome every scene he's in. So there's some good stuff there, but it's a very dry, strange comedy. So I don't know if you'll dig it the first time you see it. I'll just say that. And then I think you said you've seen the other ones. So, but yeah, I've had to accept the fact that I think when we did a tournament fights of some of our favorite directors, I had to accept the fact that I think I've settled that Kubrick's one of my favorite directors because I pretty much like every movie other than Barry Lyndon. But that's like 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 or whatever it comes to. You know what I mean? I like
Yeah.
all of them other than that one. So that's a pretty strong record. Oh, and Eyes Wide Shut is good too. I like Eyes Wide
Oh
Shut.
yeah.
His last movie, I'm a fan of. I think Tom Cruise is great in that movie. Nicole Kidman's excellent in that movie, and yeah, it goes to some really weird places. So really, really weird places when you get there. But yeah, I like Eyes Wide Shut as well. So yeah, I'm positive on pretty much all of his movies. It'll be a strange journey, especially if you watch them in order or something.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
yeah. I don't
it's
know how
strange.
I'm gonna watch them.
Oh, I'm forgetting Spartacus because he didn't like write it, but he directed Spartacus.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah, I always kind of forget Spartacus because it's not really like his movie. It's like he was brought in as a substitute director last minute when the other guy got fired,
Oh,
and
okay.
but ended up directing Spartacus is really good. It's a really good historical epic, and it's got vibes of like Gladiator. Just kind of an earlier version of
Okay.
that. If Gladiator went to where like he freed the gladiators and then they went on like a revolt across the country, essentially, trying to take over, Rome and stuff. So yeah, Spartacus is good too though. So yeah, I think if you take the journey, you'll enjoy most of it. I'll say that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Um,
What are some of
yeah.
the other directors? Do you need to finish like Tarantino or anything
Yeah,
like that? Or
Tarantino was one of them. I picked Guillermo del Toro. I really enjoyed
okay.
Pinocchio, and I realized like most of his stuff is on HBO Max actually, so it's just really accessible. And I'm interested in just kind of like his creatures designs and stuff. So
Henry and I
that's
did
one
Del
of
Toro, so I filled in some of my gaps on that one. I'm very hit or miss on Del Toro. I kind of like the idea of Guillermo del Toro more than I actually like Del Toro movies.
mm,
I actually really like stuff like Mimic, his kind of crazy mutant cockroach, horror movie, and I really love Nightmare Alley from like 2 years ago.
yeah, that's
I
one I have
really
to
did.
watch. I
I
haven't seen that
really,
one.
I really liked Nightmare Alley. It ended up being one of my favorites. Pan's Labyrinth is good. You'll probably dig it. I'm a big fan of Pacific Rim just because I like kaiju and stuff. I'm a
Mm,
big kaiju guy. But yeah, he can be a hit or miss for me personally, but you might like him more than I do. So, and I'm not
yeah,
as much into like the Hellboy movies, but that's just me.
right. And then
Yeah.
I got Paul Thomas Anderson
Mm-hmm.
because he's
Seen
he's
all
he's
of
a
his.
director. Based off of what I've heard in this community that we have here, he's kind of divisive. People either love his movies or just don't like
I
him at all.
I like most of his movies. He's very hit or miss for me as well. I still think There Will Be Blood and Boogie Nights are his two best movies. Punch Drunk Love is great. I really think Magnolia is really underrated. I rewatched that recently. That's really good. And Tom Cruise like got nominated for Oscars. So if you really want to see Tom
Mm.
Cruise give like a really cool, different performance, like that's worth your while. Philip Baker Hall is like a main character, and he passed away this year. So if you want to see a really good Philip Baker Hall performance, check that out. Um, you know, I like The Master. I don't like Inherent Vice like at all. I think that movie's awful and really bad. Was not into Licorice Pizza this year or this past what is it, a year ago, whatever it was.
Right? Yeah, it was this year.
Not as into that one. So I mean, he can be real hit or miss for me personally. But again, it's a lot of interesting movies in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one is Darren Aronofsky. I've seen The Wrestler, Black Swan, and Half a Noah before I stopped watching it, and we'll see
Okay.
because the whale really interests me, and I was like, all right, well,
Yeah,
um,
I saw The Whale. I like The Whale, but The Whale has been very divisive. Yeah, as far as the rest of Aronofsky, Pie, his first movie is interesting, but not necessarily great. But Requiem for a Dream, people kind of consider is like
yeah,
Requiem for a
I,
Dream is a movie that's very good and very well done, and you'll never want to watch it again.
that's what I hear. I've actually got those. I've got those two in a double feature DVD. So
And The Fountain is a very strange, ambiguous movie. But if you like, but it's Hugh Jackman, and I know you love Hugh Jackman. So, and it's basically Hugh Jackman almost. He's one character, but in like three different time periods. So it's an interesting
okay,
movie. But the
okay,
score is excellent. The movie looks great. So if you can see it on Blu-ray, I would encourage that. I like Mother, but that's just I seem to be in the minority on that. I think it's a good
well,
anxiety-driven movie. Again, it's kind of vague on what it means, but yeah, he's got an interesting filmography. But I mean, if you like Hugh Jackman, he's great in The Fountain, so you should definitely see that for
nice.
sure.
Yeah, so those are the five directors, and then
Okay.
I've also have a goal of finishing 10 franchises or trilogies that I've never seen. So that's gonna be fun. And one of them actually crosses over with Del Toro because he did Blade 2 and Blade 1
2.
of the. I haven't seen the Blade trilogy, so that's
Yeah.
I'm gonna knock that off.
Well, we talked about, maybe before Mission Impossible comes out, you said you need to finish that series. Maybe we'll talk about that on here.
That's
You know what I mean?
one
'Cause
of my
I,
that's one.
I think it would tie in really nicely if we want to do that, like maybe the week after the new one comes out, and
Yeah.
you catch up before the movie comes out. I think that'd be a good one because I'd love to talk those movies. Those movies are great. So, I'd be happy to talk those with you if you want to wedge that into the schedule for
That'd be cool. Kind of giving my thoughts on these as I finish them. Because I'm not going in a particular order. I just like because I'm not one that's like, all right, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna watch all the Mission Impossible movies in a row. I'm gonna watch all the Planet of the Apes movies in a row because that's another one. Or I'm gonna sit down and watch the last 5 Quentin Tarantino movies. So I'm kind of gonna space them out and just
I say this a lot as I hear people say they haven't seen stuff, and I try not to be that guy that's like, what, you haven't seen that? I'm like, I envy you. You get to watch a lot of these great movies for the first time, which I think is cool, and you're going to get to see some really good stuff, along the way. And maybe you'll, if you jot some notes down and we just do maybe random episodes where we just talk about what we've seen lately, if you see some of those and we just talk about them, I'd be down to talk those with you. So yeah, I look forward to hearing about your journeys in the movies this year. I think that'll be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got big goals because I also want to watch like just 100 first time watches because I went through my collection. I was like, oh, there's quite a few in here that I haven't actually
opened yet.
So I'm gonna knock them off. Yeah, I mean, I just showed off 3 of them that I haven't opened.
I need to do the same thing this year. I need to just pull all the ones that I bought but haven't watched yet, slightly out of the row, and then just kind of go through and just knock them all out.
Yeah, I made a list, and it's like, all right, so I'm gonna do like. I made a list on a spreadsheet. It's like, all right, so I'll just go to do like a random number generator. What number does it correspond to? Okay, so today I'm watching Risky Business with Tom Cruise. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah,
so, it's kind of fun.
Okay, no, it sounds fun. Yeah, I'm gonna try to fill in some of those gaps, and I have to dig into older stuff because I've caught up on a lot of recent stuff basically, and director filmographies. I filled in a lot of those doing a lot of these shows. So I gotta dig into older obscure stuff to kind of find things, but still that's cool because sometimes you go down little rabbit holes and have a little fun. So what do I do next? You want to talk a little horror related?
Kind of getting back on track here.
Sure. No, hey, we're talking movies. It's a podcast about movies, and we're talking movies. So it's not like we weren't talking football. We were talking movies, and that's totally fine. Right. And again, it's the start of the new year. It's like a New Year's resolution. So there's nothing wrong with that. Your resolution in movies. But I think the horror again. I said for the most part, I thought it was a pretty solid year in horror. I have about 20-something horror movies I was able to check out this year. Again, I don't see like every horror movie that comes to streaming or anything, every single one, but I try to see all the ones people are talking about. Right. But I mean, as far as the really solid stuff, a lot of the mainstream ones, Barbarian was very well done. It wasn't one of my favorites of the year, just personally, but it's very well done. Another movie that if you check it out, don't read anything about it. Try not to watch too much about it. Just kind of go into it blind. I thought Smile was way better than Had Any Right to Be. Very well done as well. Kind of a almost like It Follows, like kind of a thing that's jumping from person to person. Good little premise. That was a lot of fun. I loved Hellraiser. I don't know if I was, I can't seem to get a gauge on whether people like it or not, but I really loved Hellraiser on Hulu. I thought it was a great reboot of the series that was very creative and shot really well and just really interesting. X and Pearl were a cool, double feature from Ty West, especially when X came out. And I wasn't big on X as a movie just overall, but I may recontextualize it with Pearl and Maxine when those, like, the full thing is out, maybe watch it as like a trilogy. Maybe it'll work a little bit better, just because I didn't know what I was getting into in X. But I thought Pearl was excellent. I really liked Pearl. Mia Goth is a real like MVP for the year. Like, she was great in both those movies, basically playing like 3 different roles, across the span of those movies, which was really cool. And I think, if the Academy didn't have an inherent bias against horror, Jacob, they would
Right.
nominate Mia Goth for Pearl. I think she would, because what she even does over the closing credits, and I will spoil it,
Oh
should get
yeah.
her an Oscar nomination. You know what I mean? Like, she's
Yeah.
so good.
Agreed.
She's so good. But they have a bias against horror because we don't even
Yeah.
nominate Toni Collette for
I was gonna say
Hereditary.
I'm
So
still not over Toni Collette not being
yeah,
nominated.
so I think they have a bias against it. But if there was any justice in the world, Mia Goth would get nominated for something this year, but she won't because they don't recognize horror as a genre. But yeah, she was great. So if you haven't seen those, even just for the performances, I would watch them. Had some cool surprises. Orphan First Kill was way better than it had any right to be.
Okay.
On I think it was on Paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a prequel to Orphan, which is another kind of cool movie that's better than it has any right to be, from like 2009. But it has a really nifty, again, I won't spoil it, but there's a nifty twist with the Julia Stiles character in that movie that really kicks the movie into another gear, and it really changes the dynamic of sort of what it could have been. Even though I wasn't as hot on the Black Phone, I thought it was very well done, just because I've seen so many horror movies, Jacob, that like I've seen stuff like the Black Phone before, so it doesn't really like, people again who I think are more casual horror fans are like, I love the Black Phone, it was so good, and I was like, yeah, it was good, but I've seen a dozen movies like the Black Phone, so it just didn't hit my highest of highs, but again, even the stuff I wasn't as into is still really well done and very good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not knocking it, technically. The Scream movie was good, overall. Not as good on a rewatch for me personally, but I'm interested to see where they go with that one. We talked a little bit about Terrifier 2. Have you actually watched it yet?
I did. I know. I did.
Okay.
I enjoyed most of it.
Too long. It's way too long. Way too long. Yeah.
And like some of like the more like supernatural elements to it, like I felt like they were just kind of put in there to make things work. And I was like,
well, there's always been that question. They still haven't really answered it of like, is art supernatural in nature? And I guess, and they're like, they dance around it, and it's kind of yes, kind of no, kind of something in between. We don't really know yet. I mean, I'm assuming he's making a trilogy, so Terrifier 3 is coming because the movie was, even though you say, oh, it only made $12 million. Well, yeah, it made $12 million off a $250,000 budget.
Right.
And that was crowdfunded. You know what I mean? And so he put, Damien Leone, put a movie out that looks really good for a $250,000 budget. I mean, it looks professional. It's very well done. The effects and the gore are very, very good, just on a technical level. But yeah, I mean, I think because it was crowdfunded, Jacob, he gave kind of the extended cut, because it was like, I'm just going to give you everything I filmed. But I do agree that, and it's not even like I would take chunks of the movie out. I would just, there was a lot of scenes that went long. I would just trim this scene by a minute, trim this scene by a minute, trim this scene by 30 seconds or a minute. And then, trim it down to maybe a little under 2 hours. And I think it would have flown by a lot faster. I just think slasher movies at 2.5 hours is just too much for a slasher movie. It's just too much. Again, I saw it in the theater. I liked it. The length did kill me for what it was trying to do. You know what I mean? But I will rewatch it, and I do think it's very well done. So, but yeah, it was good.
I overall I liked it, and I don't think I think when you hear about like this movie and people are gonna be like, oh, it's gonna like go overboard with the kills, and it's gonna be like he doesn't though. Like all the kills in this movie make sense. Like none of them, like we didn't just kill people just to add kills to the movie. Like every kill meant something, and so I thought that was really, really well done too.
Yeah, I will say people need to pump the brakes on Art the Clown is a horror icon. Not yet. Just pump the brakes on that. It takes time, okay? Like things take time to have a cultural impact, to kind of give that classic status. He's not in the league of, Jason, Freddy, Michael, even Chucky, yet. Just give it time. David Thornton, who plays him, is great. He gives a great performance, especially for something where he can't talk. It's just all mime and stuff. He's very, very good, and he's one of the reasons to actually watch the movie. His performance is excellent. Again, a lot of the horror performances were excellent this year. There's a movie called Resurrection, with Rebecca Hall that's not getting a lot of acclaim. But if you're a Rebecca Hall fan, she gives one of the best horror performances of the year, almost right up there with Mia Goth. She's great.
Okay.
And it's a movie on, I believe it's on Hulu. But yeah, her and Tim Roth, it's really, really good movie that goes to some crazy places. So yeah, I mean, those are just kind of a few. I won't get into too much detail. The ones I didn't like, the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre sucks. I did not like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Yeah, I'm kind of lower on that one too.
I know there was a big debate this year. I wasn't as into Halloween Ends, but I don't want to get into that debate now. But I found the key to whether or not you like it. I found that the people who are either new horror fans or like new to the Halloween franchise or just casual fans like Halloween Ends, and the people who are hardcore Halloween fans hate Halloween Ends. So I fall into the second category. So yeah, I'm kind of with that. So that can gauge whether or not you like it. But yeah, even that, even the ones that were bad were kind of interesting, or there was something to talk about. So again, that's always a kind of good. Some of the other ones are kind of, I'll say, for me and Wolfman's conversation, we go into a little more depth. But yeah, overall, a pretty solid year for horror. So yeah. But I know you were alluding that there wasn't that much animation this year, but
well,
I guess you can talk about at least a few of the ones you did see.
Yeah, it's not that there wasn't a lot of animation because I've seen 17.
Okay.
There just wasn't a lot of great animated movies like there has been in the past. And so there's two pretty big ones that I'll save for tomorrow. Yeah, there are two. One of them is a blend of live action animation. I wasn't sure if I was going to count it or not, but it's got a Golden Globe nomination for best animated. So I was like, all right, well,
I know what you're talking about, but yeah, we'll consider sure.
And then just shout out Chip 'n Dale because it's a hybrid live action animation. Sure. I thought it was really good. It was like nostalgia overload that I really enjoyed. So
I haven't watched it yet, but everybody has said it's again another one that's it's better than it has any right to be, kind of.
Yeah.
For the premise. So I will watch it eventually. I just I didn't get around to it at the time. That just wasn't. I don't have a nostalgia for Chip 'n Dale. Like I just don't. I didn't watch that much Rescue Rangers or Tailspin or any of that stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, no, just So yeah, I mean, there's some mediocre ones, but some of the better ones that came out this year. The Sea Beast on Netflix was really good. It's kind of got this like How to Train Your Dragon vibes, but it's of the sea. So yeah, no, it was really good. Good voice cast. It's got Carl Urban in it. And he kind of befriends
this
little girl.
Does he do the dread voice in Sea Beast?
No, but I wish he did now. Probably made his character a little more interesting.
I'm the law.
But yeah, no, that one was really good. The two Pixar movies that came out, they didn't blow me away, and they're not like in my upper echelon for Pixar, but I still think Turning Red and Lightyear were really solid, although I don't know if we needed a Lightyear movie. Apparently, it's like the Lightyear movie that Andy saw that made him become a fan of Buzz Lightyear.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Why do we need that?
I saw Turning Red though because we did. I watched it right before we did our Pixar Patreon.
Oh thing.
Yeah. So I actually did see Turning Red. I kind of like Turning Red. Yeah, I didn't think it was like. It's not going to be one of my favorite Pixar's anytime soon. But I was surprised at how much I got into that story because it's there was wasn't like a weird controversy because it's like an allegory for like her period, or something, or just weird stuff like that. It was like, or puberty. I was like, yeah, so Pixar's talking about puberty, which kids go through, like, so what? Like, who cares? Like, it's not like they're, showing her with all the, feminine hygiene products, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, that's what the monster represents, that comes out of her, you know what I mean? So but I like the story. It was another good one about like, family heritage and stuff, and that sort of thing. So I did actually enjoy Turning Red. And yeah, Lightyear, I was not into Lightyear. I fell asleep during Lightyear in the theater. So yeah, I was not into it.
Yeah, I liked it, but it's like, it's not like, it's probably my least favorite of the Toy Story franchise, and but I still Chris Evans did a good job with the voice, but yeah, it was I think they were just trying to bank on the name. And
Yeah,
just trying
yeah.
to,
And
more
just
money,
coast
toys.
on that name. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish it had been if it had been Lightyear and Socks on Space Ranger adventures throughout the universe, I would have been way more into it than
Yeah.
him just being stuck on a planet. I want to see them going from planet to planet on Space Ranger missions, and he can have Socks with him. You know what I mean? As his sidekick. I would have been totally into all that if they had gone that route, but they didn't. So what can you do?
Yeah. For someone who hasn't seen a lot of Bob's Burgers,
Okay.
I thought the movie was really fun. It felt like maybe I was watching an extended episode of the TV show, but you know what? I dug it. It was a lot of fun.
I've actually seen a
Um,
lot of Bob's Burgers because my ex used to watch Bob's Burgers, so I've actually seen a lot of the show. I didn't see the movie just because I heard kind of mixed things about it, like it was, but I do enjoy the TV show. I think H. John Benjamin is, between that and Archer, is a really fun, voice actor. He's really great. But yeah, I wonder if they're able to do like an Archer movie. I could see that happening maybe at some point, but yeah, I don't know. We still haven't gotten our Simpsons movie sequel, so
yeah.
I keep waiting for that to happen.
Strange World, the other Disney movie that came out. I it's also been very divisive, and I don't know why, because what I saw was a lot of fun. It was this fun adventure movie. Another good dynamic on family, because Jake Gyllenhaal, who is like the son and father, so his dad is trying to push what he wants to do on him, and then he kind of tries to do the same thing to his son, but is like, no, I'm actually a good father, and then it's like, oh, but I'm actually doing the same thing. So it's a really cool story. Great voice cast. Dennis Quaid as Jake Gyllenhaal's dad is really cool. Yeah, a lot of fun, and I like the world that they were able to build. I'd be interested to see if they do anything with it, because they could easily do a sequel based off the ending, but if they also just leave it alone, then I would.
Well, I don't think the movie they made. I think the movie kind of bombed, so I don't think we're gonna get a Strange World sequel anytime soon, from what I saw.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the movie kind of got like a soft release where I saw like no marketing for that movie like at all. I barely even saw
yeah,
any trailers. They just kind of dumped it out in theaters, and then it
that
got
was
swallowed up by Avatar. So yeah, it was really weird.
it was a Thanksgiving release, like just shortly after Black
Mhm.
Panther, and then before Avatar. Like, no,
They
we'll
just
wait
threw
for
it
it.
out there, and it died a slow death.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be honest, I did wait until it was on Disney Plus to watch it. So,
Okay, fair enough.
um, but yeah, no, it was good, and I could see it being like, it obviously if money, no sequel, but I could see them doing like some Disney Plus stuff with it, just the world that they were able to create. And then just, I mean, have you seen the Beavis and Butthead movie?
I was just gonna bring that up actually. I was gonna
That
say
one, yeah.
Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe might make my honorable mentions tomorrow night.
Okay.
I really liked it, and yeah, Mike Judge, especially with that. And I don't know if you've watched any of the actual the new series.
I
Like the
haven't
new
yet. I
episodes.
want to.
The new episodes are pretty great, and they feel like the old school Beavis and Butthead, except for just in the breaks, instead of watching music videos, they're watching like TikToks. So it's a lot of fun. Just making fun of those. But yeah, the movie I thought was great. It felt like it was just fun. Beavis and Butthead just kind of thrown into more of a modern situation. Because they
Yeah.
get kind of transported with like smartphones and stuff, and I like seeing all that. That whole sequence where they learn about white privilege is one of the funniest sequences, like in any movie this year, where they hear about that in the little college lecture, and then they start cutting in line everywhere they go and going, "All right, ladies, move out of the way. I've got white privilege." All that stuff is really funny. I thought the aliens were really great. They kind of pop back up in the series a little bit, introducing old Beavis and Butthead, because they have some old Beavis and Butthead episodes where they're like in their 50s. So I would recommend that. But yeah, that was a nice surprise because I didn't even really know that was coming, because we had heard that like he was working on the new series and then he was working on a new movie, and then it seemed like almost all at once like the series debuted and then the movie was out there, and
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool, kind of out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, awesome! So that was a nice surprise. Yeah, I really like the Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. So that was a lot of fun.
It was. Yeah. Another Netflix movie, Apollo 10 and a half.
Mm.
Jack Black. Um, as is narrating his life, well, not his life, but his character's life as a 10-year-old in Houston, and just kind of weaving tales of you know,
Yeah.
his life as a child with his family, and kind of being out in space. It was really fun. It was like a mockumentary almost in the
Okay.
way that it was presented, and one that kind of flew under the radar because it's Richard Linklater, who is
Mhm.
another director that I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but I know people really like him.
You know, School of Rock. It's his
Well, I
best
mean,
movie.
I know that one, but like
Oh
other
yeah.
movies of his, I think I can't name another one off the top of my head. There's probably been more
Boyhood.
than I haven't seen
Boyhood.
Boyhood. I haven't seen it
Okay.
yet, but
Okay.
I do know of it, and I know there was like what 12 years to make. 'Cause,
Yeah, yeah, it was that. He was one of the '90s guys, along with Kevin Smith, one of the indie directors that broke out because he did a movie called Slacker right before Clerks came out. That Kevin Smith saw and kind of inspired him to do Clerks. A movie called Slacker. It's like a black and white, just kind of hangout movie, but it's kind of a cult classic. But yeah, Linklater is one of those guys who's had a really interesting career. I don't know if I like love his movies overall. I like a few of them, but yeah, he's one of those guys. But the interesting that he did like an animated thing. His career's been kind of all over the place when you go and look up his IMDb. Actually,
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's really interesting animated style too, because yeah, I would recommend it because it's not really like an animated movie that's geared towards kids. It's more like a mockumentary space movie, which
yeah,
really cool. And then just the last one because the other ones were yeah. But
yeah.
the bad guys from DreamWorks
Hmm.
was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. The premise, and I was like, okay, cool. A group of bad guys trying to fake being good, and yeah, we've seen that before. But no,
Yeah.
it was really well done. A good voice cast, but again, Sam Rockwell doesn't really do anything bad.
Bad. I have yet to find, even when I dig into his older movies, a bad Sam Rockwell, at least performance. He's been in some like okay movies, but he's never the bad part of the movie. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he's even the standout. So yeah, I've yet to find one. He's one of the most consistent guys out there.
yeah, no, it's a really good voice cast all around. And there's actually a couple twists that come in that I didn't see coming. So
Mm,
yeah, no, really, probably the surprise animated movie of the year for me.
okay.
And then yeah, Minions was okay. Super Pets was okay.
I was gonna say, did you see DC League of Super Pets? How was
Yeah,
that? How was that?
it was okay. I think I'm actually lower on it than most, but
I was like, I don't know if I want to see another Rock and Kevin Hart movie.
yeah,
I'm just like, I wish it had been somebody different. The only thing I was curious about was Keanu Reeves as Batman.
yeah.
So
I mean, if they did more with him, I think I might
but
have liked it
I
more.
didn't. I had a feeling he wasn't going to be in much of the movie though, so I didn't bother to see it. But maybe I'll watch it in the background at some point
Yeah,
just to kind of see something. But yeah,
yeah, and then the new Hotel Transylvania. Yeah,
no, it's not Adam
top of the
Sandler. It's not
tree.
the Crew. Yeah, it's weird,
Yeah,
right?
it's. I mean, I will say that the guy that they replaced him with, he's a YouTuber, Brian Hull. He does voice impressions and stuff. He does a good job,
Okay.
but you can kind of tell that it's not Adam Sandler. So
I did
yeah,
pick up Hotel Transylvania 1 and 2 on a dual Blu-ray at Big Lots for $5.
nice.
So go check that out. But yeah, I like the Hotel Transylvania movies. I actually
I
like
do.
the first three.
Yeah,
I
I
like
like it too. I own the first three.
yeah, yeah. No, I like because they're a throwback. They got some good throwbacks to like the Universal monsters, stuff like,
Yeah.
and then kind of some old school horror movies. So yeah, I'm surprised how much I like those. It's like I've built my collection, Jacob. I have been picked up this last year now that I have a niece who is she just turned 1 this past November.
Mhm.
So I have bought Blu-rays and DVDs of good animated movies that I would be okay if like the kid watched. You know what I mean? Like you know
Like this one.
no, not that one. Not that one. But no, like the stuff I would be okay with, the Shrek movies, the How to Train Your Dragons, your Kung Fu Pandas,
Mhm.
your classic Disney films, like
Yeah.
old school Disney. I'm cool with all those. Hotel Transylvania, stuff like that. Like I'm going to try to steer and be like, watch these movies that I don't mind that you put them on multiple times. Don't watch Frozen. I'm going to pretend that I'm going to try to make sure that nobody she does not know Frozen even exists. So I will shield her from the Frozen films. So, but yeah, I've tried to like at least stash the good stuff that I don't mind watching around my house. So when she comes over to, eventually she'll probably come over and I'll babysit and stuff, put on movies. So yeah, my sister's already said you're going to be in charge of her movie education. So I'm excited about that. Also, because I own everything. So I said, oh, good. Okay. Nightmare on Elm Street, 4 years old. Let's go. All right.
Let's go watch.
Throw you into the deep end right away. No, I wouldn't do that, of course, but I'll at least like try to show the good stuff, to start with. Let her watch the annoying stuff later on her own. We only do quality. We only do quality in this household, lady. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that was there wasn't. I was very.
Not like a lot of standout animated movie or something that really like. What do you think? Like some foreign movie might win like animated movie this year or something, or something out of nowhere.
I think the front runner is obvious, and it's one that I've brought up before. But there was an animated movie nominated for Best Animated at the Golden Globe. It's called Inu-Oh. It's a Japanese movie that was released. I haven't seen it yet, but it's apparently pretty good. So maybe I'll find a way to check it out before. But no, as far as Oscars.
As far as quality, you would probably be cool if the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio was,
which is the one I think. It's the one that's getting the buzz. That one, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I will probably be talking about tomorrow when we do our top 12. The Puss in Boots, which I haven't seen yet, is getting a lot of love.
Surprisingly.
Surprising. And The Bad Guys, I could see. If Disney and Pixar is represented, I could see it being Turning Red. The more I think about that movie, the more I actually really like it, and it could climb up to maybe an honorable mention. When we do our top 12 tomorrow. But no,
I will say I watched the first half of Pinocchio. I will finish it. I got busy with something else. They started singing, and I was like, no, don't turn this into a musical, please.
Yeah, no,
I was like, please don't. You were doing so well. I will say though, Jacob, it has the most depressing first 10 minutes since Up. Would you agree with that? Probably. That first 10 minutes is probably the most downer 10 minutes since the beginning of Up, I would say, if we had to make a comparison. But yeah, I was at least digging like most of the story, you know what I mean? So, but I could see that one. I think if that one got nominated and maybe even won, like kind of a late push, you know what I mean? Like getting in there, I could definitely see that. I think that one is pretty good quality as well written so far.
I think it's a shoe-in. It's between that and Marcel the Shell.
Okay.
With Shoes On. But I don't know if the Oscars will nominate, because I don't know how picky they are when it comes to incorporating live action.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but we'll see, because I don't think they've done that before.
Yeah.
I guess it is mostly animated because the focus is on Marcel, but there are moments of live action. But I guess it's the same thing with WALL-E, because you had Fred Willard
showing up like as himself.
So maybe, but no, I think those are the two standouts for me personally, and they're the two that seem to be getting the most love. But other than those two, there's not that big standout. It's not like, oh, this could win, or this could win, or this could, like, that has a long shot. Like I think it's a 2-horse race, and that makes it a little less exciting. But yeah, no. Brian says his favorite was Beavis and Butthead.
It was good, and the series is good as well. Mike Judge is on his game, so yeah, I really like that one. I think Do America is still better right now, but I really like Do the Universe. I thought it was really, really entertaining. So, but yeah, I liked it a lot. So I mean, that could they go out and nominate that? As like a weird, or do you think Oscar people would not, or was it even in consideration? Would they even watch it to consider it?
Yeah, because I think one of the rules in place that they have in place is that it has to be
Had to have gone to theaters at
released
least
in
for like a week.
theaters.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think, yeah, I think it's like New York and LA for whatever reason
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
week. And I don't know if
Well,
it was,
actually, the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio was at one of my art house theaters in Asheville for like the last
yeah,
2 weeks. So it actually got not like an expanded release, but a little like at least an art house theater kind of
yeah,
release. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that because that was pretty much just a Paramount exclusive. But yeah, I mean, I could have seen stuff. That's another one you add to the list, Jacob. Though I wouldn't mind seeing that in the theater.
yeah.
Just
No,
another one
I
that
wouldn't
we've
either.
talked about. That's one of the stories of the year is like these movies that are really good that I would have gone to the theater to see had they been available. So
Yeah.
maybe now that 2023 as we kind of again push forward a little bit, we saw that at least Glass Onion got a week-long theater release, if you remember.
Hmm.
Before it went to Netflix, it was only for a week, but at least still got a chance to be in a theater if you wanted to go
Yeah.
see it. I'm hoping that in 2023 those companies will at least give them a chance in a theater, even if it's just for a week. Give
Hmm.
people a chance, whether it's the Netflix stuff or like I would like to see some of those Hulu things or something. Anything that just has some kind of a clout to it. Something that
Right.
people would be interested in. Because I think Glass Onion did okay in the theaters, from what I heard. I think it made some
Yeah.
money.
I would too.
And I mean, why shouldn't it? It's a Knives Out sequel, and Knives Out was an underground kind of hit. It was like a sleeper
Yeah.
hit the year it came out, and it made some money. I think it broke 100 million. I think, if
It
I remember
might
right.
have, yeah. I was
'Cause
surprised when I heard this one was going to Netflix and just had a
yeah,
limited release.
well,
It
it
seems
was just
weird.
they gave him the two picture deal, for Ryan Johnson. There's like $100 million like two
Yeah,
picture
who
deal
I
or something like
read
that.
is already starting on the next one.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's contracted to, but I think he had written both of them basically at the same time. But yeah, hey, at least it got a chance. I would have really loved to see All Quiet on the Western Front in theaters. We talked about Prey. I would have
Yeah.
loved to see Hellraiser in a theater. I think it would have looked great. Stuff like that I just wish we at least had the option, to at least check it out, even just in a limited way. I mean, I'm glad I have a good setup at home to where it still
Hmm.
looks good and sounds good, but not everybody has that. So
Right.
I would like to get that chance, like not
Hmm.
every movie has to do it, but some of the bigger movies with some name value, ones that
For sure.
that may be like even awards kind of consideration things. All Quiet on the Western Front's going to get nominated for technical Oscars at least, and
Oh
probably
yeah,
foreign film as well because it's a German film.
absolutely.
So, I would have liked to have seen that in the theater.
Yeah, I watched this YouTube channel. He's called the Oscar Expert,
Mhm.
and the BAFTAs just came out with their long list, and All Quiet was nominated for just about everything.
Oh wow, yeah, it should
Yeah,
be. It's
so
really good. Yeah.
um, yeah, and I may or may not be talking about something to do with that movie in this next portion where we're talking
Okay.
about some of our underrated movies and performances. And since I'll just go ahead and lead with that because the movie is being talked about just for like the brutality of it and its depiction of war in
Yeah.
a technical level. But the performances I feel are kind of being pushed to
Yeah.
the side, and the lead, Felix Kammerer,
Say that
I
main
think,
guy, he's really good in that
yeah,
movie. He's very
yeah. So
good.
I just wanted to shout him out real quick because I think the
Yes.
performances in this movie too, where I think the big name that most people are going to recognize is Daniel Bruhl, and he is also really good. But I wanted to shout out the lead because I think
Mhm.
he was really good. Like
That there's a I won't spoil it, but there's a sequence where and you'll know what I'm talking about, Jacob, where he's in a hole with another guy, and he makes a decision that he regrets kind of a few minutes later.
Mhm.
Concerning that guy, you know what I mean? You probably know what I'm talking about if
Yeah.
you've seen the movie. That his acting during that whole sequence, you don't need to know German. You could get exactly what's going
Mhm.
on, during that sequence, and it would still be great. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he was really good. And yeah, Daniel Bruhl is the one recognizable guy, but he's in the administrative scenes. He's like an
Mhm.
official, signing paperwork and stuff. But yeah, he's that guy you were talking about is really, really good. So yeah, I don't think just because they're foreign performances, they should get overlooked. Just because they're not speaking English. I mean, they're really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. The BAFTAs nominated him, or not
Mm,
nominated him, but he's in that short list
okay,
of potentials.
good
So
for him. Good
at
for
least
him.
he's being, yeah. I mean, he's being recognized overseas. I hope maybe the same can happen come
I
Oscar
could at
season if
least
he
see
gets
All Quiet on
pushed.
the Western Front winning the foreign film
Oh,
Oscar at
easily.
least, and that
Yeah.
that would be cool if it at least got nominated and won that. I think that would at least give it some more people would kind of maybe go back and check it out and kind of get more eyes on it, especially once it gets. But I'm pretty sure it'll get nominated. But yeah, we'll see if it wins.
I think it's between that and RRR. I haven't seen it yet, but that one's getting a lot.
Seen half of it. I'm waiting for it to get good. I'll go back to it eventually, but I'm not as hot on it as everybody else. But hey, everybody else is high on it. So
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't speak on it. But those seem to be the two that are the standouts for at least for international, and obviously where my pick would be because All Quiet is incredible, and one that we'll probably be talking about tomorrow again.
Yeah, I might be talking about it too. So definitely, yeah.
What about you? What's something you want to shout out?
I want to shout out the movie Fall, which kind of got a little theatrical release. I missed it in theaters. I wanted to because it would have played great in a theater. But the basic premise is these two girls. They're kind of rock climbers. They're climbers, and there's kind of a tragic scene at the beginning of the movie where somebody passes away. I won't spoil too much, but to kind of get her out of her funk, her friend kind of drags her along this thing and hypes her up to. They go and climb an old TV tower in the middle of the desert, like kind of in the middle of nowhere. And they climb up there, and then the ladder breaks, and they get stuck at the top of the tower. And that's kind of the basic premise. So it's one of those things where they're stuck somewhere, and it's a survival movie essentially. So they've got to kind of use everything at their wit to try to survive. So again, a fairly simple premise, but I'm a big fan of like simple survival movies. Like I think they can be really good when done right as far as problem solving and seeing what the characters are going through. The performances are actually really good from both the actresses. I'd have to look them up to see, but the main girl who is the one who's kind of depressed because of what happens in the opening scene. I think her name is Grace Curry. She's very good in the movie, very, very good, and what she goes through. So I want to shout out the movie Fall. I'd have to see if it's on any streaming service. Actually, Jacob, I saw the first half of it on a plane, and then I, right as it was getting good, we landed. So I ended up, but it was so good what I saw. I blind bought the Blu-ray and finished it at home.
Yeah. I also blind bought it, so I'll be checking it out.
Okay,
eventually.
I can definitely recommend it. It's really, really good. Again, very, very simple premise, but it hooks you in. Jeffrey Dean Morgan shows up too. He plays one of the girls' fathers, but he's only in like a couple of scenes. It was like, hey, we got Jeffrey Dean Morgan for a weekend. You want to be in the movie? kind of a thing. We had him for like 2 nights. But yeah, he's kind of in there. Yeah, very small cast, very simple premise, but it's a kind of an overlooked, underrated little movie that came out. I liked it a lot.
So is it like the Scared of Heights version of 127 Hours?
Kind of, yeah, because they're stuck in one location, trying to figure things out. Let's try this plan, let's try this, let's try to reach this, do this. It's just a little minuscule like problem solving. People they're trying to get people's attention. Yeah, it's a 127 hours kind of situation.
Okay,
for sure. Just up on a tower.
I love that movie. So
instead of down in a pit, stuck under a rock, it's up on an old TV tower. Yeah, in the middle of the desert. So yeah. But it's really good stuff. I think you'll dig it once you get around to it. Nice. I like it.
Mm-hmm. One that I want to shout out both just as a movie and as a performance is the movie starring John Boyega, Breaking.
And the sequel, Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. Was he in that one?
I don't know if they're connected or not.
Okay.
But no, I saw the trailers for this and I was like, okay, that movie looks like a movie that I am going to absolutely love. And yeah, I can't say I blind bought it because I knew the premise, but as soon as I saw that it was available, because it wasn't playing at a theater near me.
Oh, is that the I saw a trailer for? Is that the one with the guy from The Wire who passed away? Michael Kenneth Williams, or is that his name?
Yep. He plays
his final movie. Yeah, I've seen a trailer. Did that actually come out? Because I didn't see it in the theaters.
Yeah. Wow, like I said, it wasn't playing anywhere near me. So when
that's so weird because I've seen the trailer twice at a Regal, but it never came out at my Regal. It's very weird. And to tell you, like, I didn't know what you were talking about at first, but Oh man, so that I totally like. I guess it just never really maybe got soft release or something. I guess and just
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, weird.
But
Okay.
yeah, no, it's John Boyega gives a fantastic performance about this veteran who's being denied by Veteran Affairs um, to uh, give him the money that he feels he deserves. He feels like they're kind of robbing him,
Yeah.
and so he decides to hold a bank hostage with two of the bank workers inside. But all he wants is to be heard. That's
Mhm.
all he wants. He and his performance alone carries the movie. The movie as a whole is good. It's not like one of those movies that like is going to blow you away, but the performances, it's a great performance inside a good movie. Like
It's a great character. It's a good character movie, like
yeah.
essentially. Yeah, with his character. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like the emotion he's able to display. The supporting cast around him is good too, but like this is his movie, and if there was any question about whether John Boyega can carry a movie, like I think this is proof that he can be a leading man pretty easily.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend Breaking for the performance alone.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't know what you were talking about, and then I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, I saw trailers for that. What happened to that movie? Is it still coming out? Oh, I guess it's just out now on streaming." So, yeah,
yeah,
it's. I'll have to rent that one and check it out. Yeah, for sure. I was interested in that. The trailers look good. So, yeah, and I want to see Michael Williams. Yeah, I guess it's his last movie because he passed away last year. So,
he was
I
really
think it's
he was pretty good in it too. Yeah, but
yeah, okay.
like
No, I can dig that. I'll shout out a movie again not to spoil too much, it's on my top list, but I feel like it's underrated because it just kind of came and went with like no fanfare. And given the director and what it was, 13 Live should have had way more
that was the one
publicity
I referenced before we went live. Like,
because it's a Ron Howard movie, which you
yeah,
think that would have gotten a theatrical release. I mean, it's a Ron Howard film. It's a movie that about a very publicized true story that got a lot of news coverage at the time. It's about the Thailand cave disaster where it was the soccer team that got stuck in there and got flooded in there, and the rescue effort over like 2 weeks to get them out. And yeah, it's basically Ron Howard's. It's the movie fictionalized version of that, but it's a very they stick to very much what happened with the actual story. And yeah, it's really, really good. I told the story the other night on Henry's show that I almost called out to work just to finish the movie because I was like halfway through it and I was like, I hated to turn it off because I got so sucked into it. But yeah, great cast. Viggo Mortensen, again, Colin Farrell, who had a great year, who
yeah.
was in 4 really good movies, who was definitely MVP this year, and then Joel Edgerton shows up about halfway through the movie as another character, but really good sort of disaster slash survival movie. And yeah, it's not like we're sitting in the cave with the kids. Like most of it's focused on the rescue divers,
Mhm.
Colin Farrell and Viggo Mortensen and Joel Edgerton and kind of their efforts on the outside. But it's just a really cool human story, people coming together to try to this community coming together to really save these kids, and the crazy efforts they went to like to get in there. It's nuts. And if you don't know
Yeah,
that many details about the story, don't go read up on the Wikipedia. Just watch the movie. It'll have you on pins and needles, like it really will.
yeah.
So I feel like even though it's going to be in my top movies, as Jacob already knows, but I still feel like it's underrated because it just kind of dropped on Prime
I agree.
and just like I think we had talked about it because it was actually in our tournament the year before, but we had talked about it on one of our shows. We were just like, oh, that drops next week. Maybe we'll talk about it because we almost did a show about that in
Yeah,
Samaritan. So we were aware of it. But yeah, it just kind of came and went in this Ron Howard movie, and I think it's one of the best movies of the year. It's really good.
it was. Yeah, yeah. It was. That's one that I was referencing. Yeah, Colin Farrell had a really
Awesome
good.
hair.
Um, one of the movies that I wanted to bring up that I feel like just playing off of Colin Farrell is the movie After Yang, another with Colin Farrell because yeah, I think the other two movies rightfully so are being talked about more. The Batman and Banshees because they're Batman is
Well, one's a
pretty
big
awesome.
blockbuster, and Banshees is going to get nominated for Best Picture, so they're
Yeah,
both getting a lot of press. But yeah, I feel like 13 Lives and After Yang are two kind of streaming under the radar movies that didn't get a lot of press.
yeah, and it's just a subtle performance too. Like he's playing this father who's trying to figure out like what went wrong with this robot who's kind of like a big brother to his daughter, and um it's an emotional movie, and yeah, and Colin Farrell is just really great in it. He's not giving this, big up out there performance, but he's keeping it subtle, and just yeah, no, he had a really good 2022. I mean, I think I think all four of his movies are in my top 25 at least
Okay.
from 2020. So
I was
yeah,
gonna say three of them are in my top movies of the year. So and After Yang isn't just because I haven't seen it yet. So,
right.
but I will get to it. It's on Paramount now, so I'm gonna get to
Oh,
it
nice.
for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
highly recommend it.
yeah,
It was in my top 10 for a long time until I kind of
sweet.
made that push at the end of the year. Just started watching.
Yeah.
You know, I think yeah, in December I watched nothing but 2022 movies.
I did. I think I did the same thing, man. I crammed like 20 movies in December. I was watching almost something every day, like just to get caught up. Both what was kind of half mainstream stuff and then half horror movies to catch up because me and Wolfman are going to do a kind of year-end wrap-up of horror movies. We'll go into more in
Yeah,
depth of just horror. But yeah, I was cramming horror movies. I was cramming mainstream movies. I was cramming streaming movies that I missed, things like that. But yeah, I'll catch up with After Yang because I want to kind of complete the Colin Farrell 2022 filmography. So, and yeah,
yeah,
he's one of those guys that he's so good, but I feel like he almost doesn't get the recognition for being one of the best actors around today, but he really should be because he's really great.
yeah. I mean, I guess Brendan Fraser could be like the favorite to win Best Actor. Um, but I haven't seen The Whale yet, so I can't speak on it. But if Colin Farrell won for Banshees, I would be
Sure.
ecstatic because
I've heard good things about not so much the movie, but people are saying Hugh Jackman in the movie The Sun that's not out yet, but it's coming out soon in a
okay.
wide release is supposed to be buzz about getting
Yeah,
nominated.
yeah, I've heard that as
So
well.
I've heard that. I don't know if he'll win, but again, he's getting at least for a nomination. But yeah, we'll see what happens as far as that goes. I'll just shout out one last movie, and then we'll move on. Again, both performance and movie that go hand in hand. A movie called Emily the Criminal on Netflix is really really good. It's Aubrey Plaza, a movie that again kind of slipped under the radar. It had a very limited theatrical release, maybe for a week or two, and then went to Netflix, and it's on Netflix right now. It's a simple premise. I don't want to spoil too much because of where it goes. It goes to some crazy places later, but basically she's like working like a catering job, like a regular job. She's struggling. She's got, student loans, bills, all kinds of stuff. She's barely kind of skimming by. And then she gets a tip to go make a side hustle. And it's like a credit card scam sort of a thing that she starts participating in. But then it kind of branches out from there. And that's kind of all I want to tell you. But it gets really, really interesting, the twists and turns with it. Aubrey Plaza has been killing it the last couple of years, as far as her performances too. I think she's becoming a really, really great actress as far as somebody who has a lot of range. She had a period there where she was just doing kind of silly comedies and things, but now she's had that and Ingrid Goes West and
Mm-hmm.
and she was good in Happiest Season in a little supporting role. I mean, she's one who almost anything that comes out that she's in, I'm probably going to check out, kind of from now
Yeah.
on, because she's turning into a really, really solid actress who I could see getting an Oscar nomination at some point for something, in the future, because she's really turning in, kind of coming into her own after like Parks and Rec and stuff, and really branching out and doing some really interesting work. So yeah, Emily the Criminal, it's on Netflix. I would highly recommend it. It's like 90 minutes. It flies by. Again, good premise, and that'll get some good anxiety going near the end. I really, really liked it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. And then yeah, just the last one I want to shout out is The Fallout with Jenna Ortega, who also had a really good
She was in
2022.
everything this year, I'm pretty sure.
Between this and X and Scream and Wednesday, which I'm gonna start soon. Because not only is it her, but it's also Tim Burton. So of course I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, she was the female Colin Farrell this year, who was just in everything that was on your television screen, essentially. So yeah, she's had a great year. She's a really breakout year, for sure.
Yeah, and so The Fallout is one that I'm pretty sure it was released in January, but I just came to it very recent. It's one of the movies I watched in December to catch up, and it's about the aftermath of a school shooting
Yeah, I've
and
heard about this movie. Yeah.
kind of like what these there's like three different characters that they kind of focus on, and how they each deal with the trauma of dealing with this afterwards, and that the focus is mainly on Jenna Ortega's character, and she's just really good. She plays a high school teen very well, and um, yeah, there's a good family dynamic. I think because she has a younger sister, and a mom that cares.
Yeah.
Probably a little too much in her mind, but you know, I, I I can't speak because I'm not a parent, but I can imagine if something like that happened at my kid's school, I'd be like, hey, I might be a little more overprotective now, but hey, can you blame me?
Oh
um,
yeah. Yeah. Totally.
so yeah, no, just a really really good performance. Really, yeah, it kind of came and went too because it was an HBO Max movie, and
And that was like earlier in the year too. It was like
yeah,
February
like
or something like that. It was
January,
pretty early.
February, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, but then of course she does Scream and she does X, and which are probably bigger movies
She
than The
was even in a
Fallout.
little horror movie with the Foo Fighters called Studio Six Six
Oh, was
Six.
she in that? I haven't watched that one yet, but
Yeah,
I
she was.
need
She
to
had a
because I
little.
love Foo
Yeah,
Fighters.
she had a little side role in that movie. So yeah, she was in everything this year. She was just popped up all over the place. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
she had a
she was
real
great, and
good year. Yeah.
I could see her being nominated sooner rather than later
Mhm.
for a performance. Very
Yeah.
curious to see how she does in Scream 6 because she's probably my favorite part of Scream 5. Yeah, and yes, I am calling it Scream 5.
Well, technically, the other one didn't have it was just Scream. So yeah, what are you gonna do? Scream of six or whatever they work the six in there. It's
Yeah,
like Megan right now in theaters. No, no, I'm sorry, it's spelled M3gan. That's what I'm
I'm
gonna call
three,
it every time I go to see it. Yeah, one for M3gan, please.
which is getting way better reviews than
And
I
I ever
thought it
thought,
would.
yeah, and yeah, Wolfman even texted me and was like, "No, that movie's way better than it has any right to be." And I was like, "That's okay, I'll see it. Sure, I'll try. I might have to go see it tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see." So cool. Well, speaking of movies that are coming out in 2023 now, like Megan, yeah, we're looking ahead to some movies that we're kind of looking forward to. We did our tournament fights episode, looking ahead to the year, but those are kind of quick thoughts. But yeah, we can bounce back and forth and talk about movies we're personally particularly excited for. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just shout out a couple that we probably don't need to go in depth on because we know what they're about, and
Sure.
that's Guardians 3 and Spider-Verse 2.
Okay.
'Cause of course I am.
Yeah. No,
um,
I figured you would shout out the comic book stuff because I have one that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, the Spider-Man I've said I physically can't watch because that motion gives me a migraine like the other one
yeah,
did in the theater. So I will probably skip it, not because I don't want to see a good movie. I just I physically can't watch it. It just messes with my head, and I'm a little hit or miss with the MCU right now. So it's a wait and see with me for all their offerings of this year with
yeah,
Ant-Man and Guardians and the Marvels. So I'm skeptical, but I'll see. Yeah.
yeah. I'm more hit than miss, but um, Thor: Love and Thunder is probably the most disappointing MCU movie that I've seen.
Oof. Oof. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I did not like it's not on my best of list for this year. Let's just put it that way. Not on my I haven't even watched Black Panther yet, so
I
I
haven't either, but it drops on Disney Plus because I just wasn't able to make it to the theater to watch it. But it drops on
yeah,
Disney Plus.
I you know what? I saw it was coming out like February 1st or 2nd or something. I was like, I'll wait for it to come on Disney
Yeah,
Plus. I'll just watch it. Because yeah, I just this phase four has just soured me so much that I'm just like, if I hear good things about the Ant-Man, I'll probably see Ant-Man because I just like Paul Rudd, in that role, and I like Michael Douglas. Like I'm just a big Michael Douglas fan, so
yeah,
I'll probably go see that just for that, because I like that cast. And Guardians 3 is still Guardians, so I like all those people
hmm
involved, and I'll show you. And it might be the swan song for James Gunn before he moves over into the DC universe,
yeah.
for his last foray in Marvel. So before he goes and starts working on whatever he's going to work on for DC, so that could be interesting as well, where he kind of leaves these characters, going into that movie.
Yeah, and it's supposedly the last last time we'll see Dave Bautista's Drax as well, from what
Yeah.
I've been reading. So
Hmm.
yeah, it'll be. I'm curious. I feel like I'm going to shed a few tears, and it's probably going to be because of a damn raccoon.
Well, speaking of Dave Bautista, that's a good segue into mine because I'm really hyped for Knock at the Cabin. I'm super excited to see that movie. I'm a Shyamalan guy. Whether or not they're good, I will see anything he puts out, and I like what they've done with this movie because the trailers have given you the basic premise, but have not really spoiled anything. All we literally even
Mhm.
know in the full trailer is like probably all stuff that happens in the first act, with the couple and the kid and them showing up at the cabin, and kind of laying out that they've on some kind of mission, you know what I mean, to stop the apocalypse, as they say.
Yeah.
But we don't know anything beyond that. And I'm pretty sure whatever happens in the movie, that's probably all first act stuff. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Again, Shyamalan is, Old was a weird movie, but it was watchable. It's a
Mm.
very strange movie. He always makes strange stuff, but I'm always kind of rooting for him. I think he makes interesting movies. He's an event guy that I always want to see what he's up
Yeah.
to. And him dipping back into horror, because Split was kind of a horror movie. The Visit, he's dabbled in horror, Sixth Sense, all that stuff, obviously. But I like when he dabbles in horror. And Batista, you can make the argument right now that he's the best wrestler actor working right now. I mean,
Yeah.
better than
I
Dwayne Johnson. I think he's got more range right now. He's doing more interesting character work. He's really good in Glass Onion. It's a completely, you can look at his filmography right now, and not one of his performances is kind of the same as the other one. As
right.
opposed to Dwayne Johnson, Black Adam, he's just kind of playing Dwayne Johnson. He's just kind of playing The Rock. It's like if you just drop Hobbs in a, in a superhero outfit, and I don't think he's shown the range that honestly Batista's shown. I think that's why all these interesting directors have been popping him into movies. I mean, if you think about what he's done the last couple of years, I mean, he was in a James Bond movie, as the henchman. He was in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Regardless of what you think of that, he reached out to him to basically be the lead of that movie. He's now in a Shyamalan movie. He was in Glass Onion, like I said, Ryan Johnson. He's done some comedy, here and there. He's done, like I said, a little action, but now he's dipping into horror. I mean, he's done a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And not one of and not to mention even just the Guardian stuff, but I think he's shown some really cool range, and I'm really excited to see where he goes just as an actor. I think he's really breaking out, and we're seeing him a lot, I think, for a good reason. So yeah, I'm excited for Knock at the Cabin. I don't have to wait too long. It's like next month. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. I'm excited for that one too. We talked about her earlier, one that I'm excited for, and I'm not a huge Guy Ritchie fan,
Mm-hmm.
but Operation Fortune. But I don't know much about it. I just know.
It was supposed to come out last year. It was actually in our other tournament we did the year before that,
Yeah.
which when I was skimming through it was actually in there. But yeah, it's the Jason Statham movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, Hugh Grant, Josh Hartnett,
Mhm.
Carrie Elwes.
Mm.
So yeah, Guy Ritchie writing, directing. I've seen a few, and I don't mind them, but yeah, no. Once I saw Jason Statham and Aubrey Plaza attached to it, I'm like, all right, well,
Mhm.
consider me hyped, because yeah, Aubrey Plaza is one that I'll just watch about anything she's in, and Jason Statham is just a
Yeah.
fun action star, who can show a little comedic chops here and
Well,
there.
and the last time he worked with Guy Ritchie in that Wrath of Man movie was a nice surprise, that came
Okay.
out, and he was pretty good in that. And yeah, he works well with Guy Ritchie, obviously with like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, stuff like that. They work well together. So yeah, I'm not super high on Guy Ritchie, but I might check that one out. Isn't that supposed to be like a Netflix movie, I think, or something like that? I don't know.
I can't remember. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, but yeah. Oddly enough, two of the movies that we talked about in our tournament that we were all hyped for, we got trailers for this past week with Evil Dead Rise and Renfield. So we finally kind of know sort of what those movies kind of, because we were talking about we don't know what Evil Dead Rise kind of even is. Same with Renfield. We just kind of knew the basic premise and had seen some pictures, but oddly enough, they dropped trailers for both of them this past week. Evil Dead Rise looks bonkers. It looks fun, kind of through the apartment building and the
Yeah.
parking garages, and there's some chainsaw action in there at some point. They're definitely showing, and it looks fun. It looks bloody, and Renfield looks like a blast too. I really like that trailer. I think Nicholas Hoult looks like he's having a good time. Nick Cage looks like he's going to ham it up. I'm excited for both those movies, and I think they come out like the same month, so that should be a good month.
Yeah, Renfield, I'm excited for it, and if the trailer is any indication, I think Nicholas Hoult might upstage Nick Cage.
Maybe.
He looks really good in that movie.
Yeah.
And then Evil Dead Rise, I didn't know anything about it. The trailer, it looks absolutely bonkers. Just some of the scares they were able to put in the trailer. I can only imagine there's going to be that many more in the movie itself. So that's what I'm not a big horror movie guy at night. Like I'm one of those, like I live alone, and not the best area. So like that's gonna be like a 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday probably for me. All right, no, let's all right.
But make sure the sun's still out when the movie's over.
Yeah, that movie looks crazy.
Yeah, so that'll be a good one. I'm excited for Oppenheimer. I'm excited for Nolan to get back to doing kind of a more straightforward movie, after Tenet, which I was not as into. But him, the cast is stacked as usual with his movies top to bottom. But yeah, the trailer looks good. Apparently it's going to play around with some black and white and like some color depending on the scenes, which I've heard sounds interesting. Like some of it's going to be in black and white, and then like some stuff for color here and there. So it could be, interesting as far as that goes. But I'm still on board for Nolan as long if he sticks the landing with this one, I'll be back on the train. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tenet kind of knocked it off a little for me. I was kind of like, let's scale it back a little bit. Get back to making just solid movies with plots I can understand, and I'll be back with you.
Yeah, I didn't mind Tenet. I really liked it, but I haven't gone back to it since I watched it the first time. So it's kind of one of those. It was one of my favorites of the year, but it's not one that I have gone back to. We talked about Mia Goth, and she's got another movie coming out this year, Infinity Pool.
Yeah, I've heard
directed
about
by
that.
Brandon Cronenberg. It's her and Alexander Skarsgård. I don't really know much about it other than those two, and I don't know if it's going to show, and that image right there, is all that I've seen, and but after the year that Mia Goth has had, that's enough to get me excited for any future project that she's going to be involved in.
Well, and Possessor, because Brandon Cronenberg is what it sounds like. He's David Cronenberg's kid, and he's dipping into horror now too. And Possessor was kind of a crazy sci-fi body horror type of thing, in the vein of his dad. And if he's working with Mia Goth, I'm interested in that because and right now, Mia Goth is on a roll. Obviously, we don't know much about Maxine, the final movie in that trilogy that'll take place during the 80s with her ex character, but we know that they're working on it, but it may not come out till next year. But anything that Mia Goth does, I'm interested now because Pearl was great. So and she's on fire right now for sure. She's another one who, if she breaks away from horror at some point, which she probably will, because people kind of get their start there, she'll win an Oscar someday. She's that good. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, that scene in Pearl, the dancing scene.
Oh my gosh.
Pearl was,
yeah. The monologue that she gives at the table is great. Yeah, everything's good. Yeah, she's excellent.
So good. Academy, stop being so
snotty about horror movies and just nominate her already because she deserves it. I guarantee you, whatever they put out there for the nominees when they do come out, and I'm sure maybe we'll talk about it if we do another Oscar show or something like that. There will be something I could sub in for Mia Goth. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh will get nominated. That's cool. Cate Blanchett, of course, will get nominated. She'll probably win because she just always wins. But whatever else they nominate, I'm going to look at it and be like, nope, sub that out for Mia Goth and Pearl. You know what I mean? I would sub that out 100%. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new Taika Waititi movie, Next Goal Wins.
Mhm.
That one looks. I mean, probably just because it's Taika Waititi. I mean, I'll give him a chance. Yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder wasn't the greatest, but he's still a director that has produced quality movies. Um, I'm excited for Wonka. I mean, I know some people
Okay.
are like, we don't need a prequel, but I'm like, I'm kind of curious to see what they do with it, because I look at it as anticipated, not only like, oh, I want to see that because I think it looks really good, but also I'm kind of curious just like to see what they do with it.
Well, like what it is.
Yeah,
Because yeah, we haven't even seen like a teaser or anything. Like, and don't get me wrong, it doesn't come out to December, so I'm not expecting
yeah,
anything anytime soon. All we've seen is a couple of like images. But yeah, it's supposed to be that side thing about him with the Oompa Loompas, and Loompa Land or whatever, all that, all that stuff. So yeah, we'll see what that is. I'm more morbidly curious than anything else. Like I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I will see it. There's another Dracula movie coming out, which I said I was excited for in the tournament. It's a movie called Last Voyage of the Demeter.
hmm.
And I'm interested to see just what that is because it's about there's a chapter in the Bram Stoker's Dracula about the ship that was transporting like his body, like his corpse or his coffin or whatever, and then it shows up on land and nobody's on the boat. So and it's supposed to be just about that voyage, but the main one of the main reasons I'm interested is the director of it, Andre Overdahl. Did The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I'm a fan of, a really good horror movie, and Troll Hunter, one of my favorite found footage movies. He's a Norwegian guy,
Hmm.
and he's a really really good director, really solid dude. So I'm interested to see him do like a more kind of American mainstream movie. So because yeah, I'm a big fan of Troll Hunter and Jane Doe. They're both great. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. You get kind of two Dracula movies this year. Get like
Yeah, that'll be
Renfield and
interesting.
Last Voyage. Kind of a dual. We always seem to have like those years where we have like two kind of dueling similar movies.
Yeah, we
Bouncing
had
around.
that
So
this year with Pinocchio.
yeah, with the two
Yeah,
Pinocchio
one was
movies.
clearly superior.
Yes, so we'll see if one is superior than the other one, or one's bad and one's good, or maybe they'll both be good. Who knows?
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, other stuff. I mean, the typical stuff: Mission Impossible, Flash, John Wick. I mean, we don't have to talk too much about those. Those kind of speak for
right.
themselves. Killers of the Flower Moon. We've talked to death. The Scorsese movie when it eventually comes out. I'm more excited than I probably should be for Gran Turismo, only because I only found out that it's directed by Neil Blomkamp, who hasn't directed a movie in a while. Who
Mm,
I like as a director, and I didn't know he was doing the Gran Turismo video game movie, but
cool.
that's his next movie, and he hasn't done
Hmm.
anything since Chappie. So, I'm interested just because of that, and I'm curious to see what Barbie is. We still don't really know what that movie is, even with the teaser trailer, because it was just a 2001 Space Odyssey like parody trailer kind of a thing. So we don't even still really know what that movie is.
Apparently, the
Um,
scripts are really good though, from what I've read. So
I'm interested. I'll see it.
yeah,
I mean, it's a good cast, good director. I'll see it. And 65 throughout that was kind of one that came out of nowhere with Adam Driver. I'm interested in, kind of a sci-fi sort of time travel movie where he's back on Earth, 65 million years ago with the dinosaurs. I'm down for that. So,
I'm in for that one
hey,
too. Yeah,
it can't. It's a good chance it's going to be better than Jurassic World Dominion. A better dinosaur movie. I'll say that. Sorry, Jordan, but there's a good chance 65 is going to be a better dinosaur movie. And you know what, Jacob? If all else fails, we can either see Book Club 2 or 80 for Brady. We can go see some old lady movies.
yeah.
So I didn't even know there was a Book Club 2. I forgot
I
there was a
didn't
book.
either.
I forgot there was a Book Club 1.
Yeah,
But there's a Book Club 2 and then 80 for Brady, Jacob, the movie that's already outdated before it even comes out. Have you seen the trailer for it?
yes, he's still on the Patriots. I don't.
That's what I mean. Hasn't he been on the Bucks for 2 seasons?
At least 2 or 3. Yeah,
So it gets the award this year for a movie that's already outdated before it comes out. So congratulations, 80 for Brady. Even your poster is outdated. Good job.
yeah.
So there you
I,
go. It's a movie that's already aged like milk. Congratulations.
yeah. And then I just want to shout out one last one. There's a movie coming out called it's scheduled for 2023 release, but I don't know if it's gotten an official release date. It's called Challengers. It's from the director of Call Me by Your Name and Bones and All.
Okay.
And it's a tennis movie. with Zendaya and Mike Feist, who was in the remake of West Side Story, who I think was actually the best part of that movie. Um, but it's the director, and then Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are doing the music for it, which
Nice.
also has me hyped for it. So yeah, don't know what a lot of it's about, but just the
Yeah.
director, and because while I didn't like Call Me by Your Name all that much, I still think it was a well directed movie. And then Zendaya is an actress that I can get behind.
Yeah.
And then if you have Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross doing the music, the score is going to be good at least.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I'll shout out one last thing. I know we're always interested in what Adam Sandler's doing, and he's got a movie called Spaceman coming out this year, which sounds interesting. And it's supposed to be again another one of these more of a serious role for him. More of a dramatic. It's kind of a
yeah, oh, yeah.
kind of a sci-fi drama where he's going to play a Czechoslovakian astronaut sent on a mission to Venus, but it's not like a comedy because like Paul Dano's in it, Carey Mulligan's in it. It's got like a really good cast, and it's supposed to be more of it's kind of an adventure sci-fi movie, but with some dramatic stuff in it. So I'm just curious to see what it is because, as you love Hustle, like I know you're a big fan of Hustle. So anything he does that's more of like a, dramatic Adam Sandler, I'm always interested in. So, I mean, I know he's going to have that. And then his typical Netflix comedy because they're doing Murder Mystery 2 with him and Jennifer Aniston.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, who cares? You know what I mean? Like whatever. But that's for his audience. If you like that, that's great. But yeah, I'm more interested in the stuff he does that's a little more showing his range. So I'm interested in that. So I'm always curious to what he's up to, at least outside of the comedy stuff.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be working with the Safdie brothers again on something. The guys who did Uncut Gems.
Nice.
So he's supposed to be working on a project with them, maybe maybe not for this year, but for next year. But they're supposed to be doing another movie together. So I'm excited for that because Uncut Gems obviously is great. So yeah.
I want to see him and the Safdies and Robert Pattinson do a movie together.
Yeah, that could be a hell of a project.
Yeah. If you're watching, get on it.
Get on that. Yeah, throw Robert Pattinson in there because he's great too. Yes.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that is our show. Kind of our thoughts on 2022, except for our favorite movies of the year, which we will be discussing tomorrow.
You got to be a patron. You got to join the Movie Hero Patreon. Patreon.com/Movie Hero will be streaming our official best of 2022 list. It'll be myself, Jacob, Jordan Anderson, and Richie Goodacre all doing a kind of roundtable of our top 12s of the year, not top 10, top 12s. And we'll be doing that. But yeah, you have to be a member of the Patreon to check that out. So, you can see the tournament fights. We'll do our best of 2022 tournament. So we'll talk about things like that, eventually later this month. Obviously stuff like this show, when we appear on other people's shows, Jordan's going to be on Rankum, talking about, so we're doing shows around that. But if you want to really sit down and watch our top 10, our top 12s, you gotta get with the Patreon. So there you go.
And I am planning on doing a 2022 themed trivia triathlon. I'm gonna work on writing that soon, and maybe even as soon as next week, I'll put the call out for signups if you want to be a part of that.
Nice.
But yeah, I hope to do that more regularly this year as well. More trivia triathlons. I'm kind of still playing around with the idea if I want to keep the same 3 rounds or maybe throw in a different round every now and then. But there will always be 3 rounds. There will always be the general movie, and there will always be the streaming service synopsis. But that second middle round could always be maybe a change. But because the streaming service synopsis, that's just fun to say, and it's just fun to see what the streaming services say about movies. But yeah, no, definitely more of those. This show is back, and we will be we'll probably discuss some topics off air, and won't be every week, but when we want to do one.
Yeah. Hey, we'll figure out a topic. Maybe maybe we'll do some Oscar related stuff when the Oscars come around, something like that. Or if we Jacob and I, message every now and then. So, well, if we think of a topic or it's just something fun we want to do, maybe not anything as hardcore as we did last year, as far as like, oh, we each got to watch these 10 movies, and it's like, nothing with that much prep. Maybe the far as we'll take that is if we were doing something like Mission Impossible, just kind of watching like a franchise or something, something like that. Otherwise, it may just be like maybe we'll just do a show and just talk about stuff we've seen the last couple of months, just talk about random movies, or if we do the Oscars, either the nominees or the winners afterwards or whatever, we could talk about stuff like that. Talk about the actual movies that were nominated if we both see all of them or something. We'll figure that out. We can talk those movies, we could talk. Do like a summer wrap up, maybe later in the year when summer wraps up, since we're kind of getting back to normal full speed this year. It looks like it's gonna be a full year of stuff. So there should be plenty to see in the actual theaters. And we'll just kind of play it by ear and see, guys. It may just be like a once a month type thing. We'll just talk about some stuff. We'll figure it out. But we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, just look forward to all the content that we have coming on the channel. Not just this, but Lonely Marks is coming back. We have tournament fights, tier ranker fights. Jordan does Snack Heroes. He's going to be doing some gaming. I believe he's going to be doing some gaming later today, actually, too.
I think he's going to do it after we get off the air in about an hour or so. So pretty much. So if you want to stay tuned to the channel, hit that bell notification if you want to know. Obviously, whenever we go live with anything, whether it's this, whether it's tournament fights, trivia triathlon, whatever it might be, hit that bell and join us. Yeah, for sure, and subscribe if you haven't. So please.
Yeah, and if you're watching on the replay, we've had some people watching live chiming in with their picks. But what's the movies from 2022 that you think are underrated, or what are some of your favorite first time watches from 2022 as well? Let us know. We always love having conversations about movies. That's kind of why we do this.
What we do. Yeah. So, this is a lot of fun, Jacob. Thanks for bringing it back, man. I missed our conversations, just us BSing about movies. And like I said, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. We can just hop on here every now and then, just talk some movies. You know what I mean? Just do our thing. So
and it may not always be a Saturday, so that's why it's important to hit the bell.
For sure.
And we'll be back soon, probably. I mean, we'll see, but just check Austin out and all of his things. He does a lot of movie Battleground. He does some stuff with Henry, Michael Wolfman. So he's all over the place.
I have 2 shows with Wolfman over on Mega Movies with a Z at the end. It's Movies with a Z. Like I said, I've alluded to it. We'll be doing a horror best of 2022, sort of a horror year in horror, full shit. So some of the stuff I mentioned tonight, like we'll go way more in depth on those movies because it'll be a horror related show. And then we will be doing our monthly drink along. We haven't set a date yet, but we kind of switched it up. We're not doing like a New Year's horror movie. I decided we're going to do a bad January horror movie. So apparently Megan's a good January horror movie. We're going to do a bad one. So we're going to do the Bye Bye Man, and we're going to drink along to it. So you can tune in for that as well at some point later this month. Yeah.
I still can't believe Megan it was in the 90% when I last checked too.
It's like higher than like some of the Oscar movies this year. It's kind of nuts. So
higher than The Whale.
Yeah, right. It's higher than probably higher than like Banshees. Who knows at this point?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're not here to crap on movies. We like to keep positive on this show. And so if you're positive on our show, hit the like button, share the video with your friends.
Just a thumbs up.
And we'll be back. When? I don't know, but we'll be back. So until then, keep talking about movies.